Mike Palm, Ken Miller, together on Iowa Everywhere. Welcome to The Hook, powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Of The Hook. My name is Ken Miller. My partner's name is Mike Palm. Mike, the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. A lot to get to. Obviously, we'll take a look back at Wild Card Weekend, a look to the Divisional Round as well, as those 4 games certainly enticing. Wonder how many dogs will be barking. We'll get Mike's opinion on that before we get out of here. We'll do a little bit on the NHL as well. Mike, good to see you. How busy was Wild Card Weekend in Las Vegas?
Well, it is not disappointing, Kenny. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I think it is clearly establishing as the third biggest weekend in Vegas. I said 3A and 3B with the opening weekend of the place. You couldn't move in any of the 3 casinos. It was incredible.
Wow. Standing
room only. The Bar Canada was packed. I mean, they were 5 deep in the slot between the slot machines watching the games, and we just expanded Bar Canada. So it was, and even now Saturday with the rain pushed some people out of Stadium Swim, but even it wasn't very warm. It was kind of cool and windy on Sunday. There were still, I think, upwards of 1,200 people at Stadium Swim for the game. So I mean, it's just really, really a strong weekend. And that Monday wraparound with that Monday night game helps out a lot as well, because you get people staying into Tuesday.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. Look, I talked to my son early in the week. He said it's the busiest day that he's can remember at Golden Gate, and that was on Saturday. So you mentioned the 3 casinos at the D, the Golden Gate, and of course Circa. Good to see. Well, what game was the best result for Circa of the wild cards, and then what game perhaps got you guys?
Well, the weekend as a whole was not good because we really didn't have any of the big favorites lose, right? I mean, Minnesota lost. They were 3. Yeah. San Diego, or I say San Diego, the Chargers lost. They were 2.5. So that didn't help at all. I guess the Minnesota result was the best. The Giants beating them outright was a positive for us. But come Monday, we could not win on the game. It was, were we going to lose 100,000 or 600,000 because of everything that was tied to Monday night? Either Dallas minus 2.5 or Tampa Bay plus 10.5. So it was good it didn't fall 10.
Yeah.
That was the only good thing. So we kind of came out with a minimal loser, but nothing really happened. I mean, if the Dolphins and Skylar Thompson could have went down and scored on the last drive, I mean, it's like $1.5 million swing to knock out all those money line parlays.
How about personally, Mike? How did you do?
I had one play the whole week, and I took the Giants plus 3. That was it. I did a money line parlay on Sunday night of the week before. Brain dead parlay, I call it. Georgia.
Buffalo.
Georgia to Buffalo to Cincinnati to San Francisco. So, I mean, I had to sweat with Cincinnati a little bit.
Yeah.
But, what was it going to be? And the numbers changed all against me. So I'm glad I bet it early because I wanted to get Georgia in there. But so I got plus money on the parlay, and then I hit the Giants. But that was about it. I really didn't get involved in any totals. I made one prop bet, Kenny. One prop bet, Kenneth Walker over 15.5 carries. 14 for 58 in the first half, and I lost the prop.
It's hard to do. Didn't you think you were home free?
Well, look, here's what happens. That fumble on Seattle's first possession of the second half in the third quarter. Remember San Francisco, long drive, get to 2, they're up 7. Seattle's in field goal range, they fumble. San Francisco, long drive. Now you're in the fourth quarter, you're down 14. They ran Kenneth Walker on the first play when they got the ball back. He got 11 yards. They had a holding call, and they abandoned the running game from that point. So tough to believe he couldn't get 2 carries in the second half.
Yeah, that's a tough beat. No doubt about that. The only thing I did, I was alive, as you know, on some futures, and the Chargers went down in flames. Mike, here's the crazy part. I can't wait to bet them next year. I can't, because I know I can't help myself. It's Gonzaga in college hoops and the Chargers in the NFL. I have to play both of those teams.
Why the Chargers? Why?
I just love Justin Herbert.
Forget about Justin Herbert, Kenny. He had Mario Cristobal, Anthony Lynn, and this idiot Brandon Staley as his coach.
Yeah.
The kid's career is done. look, if they didn't fight, you're supporting the Spanos family. I cannot
Which
believe
isn't good.
it's terrible.
Yes.
They took a team out of a city that loved and supported it to a city that could care less about it.
Right.
They hire all these no-name Mike McCoy, whoever heard of him, Anthony Lynn, who's actually had a better culture than this guy did. At least they were tough, mentally tough with Anthony. Couldn't coach worth a lick, couldn't manage a game. And now this guy, I searched high and low, Kenny, at every media source I could find to get Brandon Staley's reaction and break down what went wrong. Nothing. All he did is, I feel sorry for the guys. Took no accountability, fired 2 assistant coaches.
Yeah. And this is an organization that fired Marty Schottenheimer when they were 14-2, for crying out loud.
14-2, he lost the playoff game.
Right.
He was gone. But look, you're up 20 at half, and you had more incomplete passes than rushes in the second half. How is that possible?
Yeah.
He lost this game in Denver when he played all his starters. You don't tell me if Mike Williams isn't in this game, they don't win that game, Kenny, and your futures are still alive.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sadly, I'll probably go back for more, but we'll see between now and then. Speaking of futures, I saw you guys really stepped up the Major League Baseball this week, right? With divisional odds as well as the pennant. Back to football in a second. So I looked at the odds. I'm a Blue Jays fan. Mike, have you looked at that lineup and that pitching staff? Where's the weakness in? Let me run the starters by you real quick. Gausman, Manoah, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, who was going to be the ace. He's now the 4 guy. Kikuchi, or what's his name? Of the kid, the left-hander from the Dodgers, Ryu, left-handed pitcher. Anyways, was with the Dodgers. They signed him a couple years ago. He's been hurt all the time since then.
Ryu.
Yeah, right. Ryu
should have won the Cy Young 3 years ago. He had 2 bad starts in Colorado.
Right. And then you look at the position players on this team. Mike, this lineup is stacked. I get that the Yankees are the Yankees and everybody's going to bet them, but I think the American League East belongs to my Blue Jays. Am I crazy?
I liked them all last year. The problem was Barrios. I don't know if he still should be in a major league rotation, or maybe only start him at home. He's bad on the road, Kenny. He's been bad on the road. How about did they keep the other pitcher they got from the Dodgers, the right-hander, Ross Stripling?
The free agent, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he might have signed with the. He's out west, I think.
I don't know where he went, but he was great for them last year too.
Yeah, he was terrific.
Stripling. But you get this abundance of pitchers, and then you got to make moves. I agree with you. I think the Red Sox are still down. Mm-hmm. I like Baltimore. I think Baltimore's a team on the rise.
Yep.
Tampa Bay, it's tough with that, what they spend and they try to strap everything together. And, maybe if they have their ace back for a full year, but the rotation is mishmash with all these, closers starting and openers and all that stuff. I like Toronto a lot too this year.
Well, let's get back to football. So we've recapped the wild card weekend. By the way, do you think the NFL? I know that the Cowboys are beefing a little bit that San Francisco gets 2 extra days rest. I love the wraparound weekend. I think that the television numbers bear out that this is a good idea. Don't you think it's here to stay?
Yeah, they're the 2 seed. You're going to have Jacksonville benefits in that they got to play Saturday. If you look at it, remember they moved the Tennessee game to Saturday.
Yeah.
Then they got Saturday with the Chargers, and they're getting Saturday. So Jacksonville benefits. I don't know if it's going to do them any good in Kansas City. Look, Dallas, you got to go win on the road. You're the wild card. You can't bitch if you're a wild card and say, "Oh, I got less rest." The other team won 11 games in a row and won their division. So you can't do it. What a Sunday showcase, though, to end up the weekend on Divisional with this game that in 1981 and 1992. And this was the story of the NFC for 16 plus years was these 2 franchises.
It was the story of the league, Mike. How many times did we hear on championship, NFC championship? Well, this is the real Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it
was many times. But somebody told me, the marquee game is the early game Sunday. Forget about it. The national interest in the late game will be 3 times what it is in Buffalo and Cincinnati here. I'm sorry, that's just what it is. And people underestimate how national a team Dallas is. Yeah, they hadn't won a road playoff game in 30 years. They haven't won a Super Bowl since '95. This is still a national brand,
Mhm.
Kenny, especially in the South and the West. And you come out here, Monday night was 95% Dallas fans
Was it
at our
really?
properties. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. If you guys had your druthers in Vegas, I mean, they kick off at 5:30, I want to say Central Time on Sunday night, as opposed to 7:30, which we've been used to all
Yeah,
season long. So you
yeah.
get a 3:30, you get a 3:30 kick. I'm sure you'd much rather have 5:30, or would you?
No, I think this is good because I think not too early in the morning. The 12 and 3:30 work well out here.
Yeah,
And that's the championship game mix too, right? Next
right.
Sunday we'll have that
Yep.
same mix. I think it works good. Now there's a UFC event on Saturday night that I wish they had the noon and 3:30 out here on Saturday because it runs into that in Bar Canada. Unfortunately, we'll only show the first football game. We won't get the nightcap, the Eagles and Giants, because we commit to UFC for that stuff.
What I haven't been there since the renovations at Bar Canada. We were out there when? Early December.
Yeah.
What's different?
Oh, we expanded the whole second floor. So we expanded Bar Canada by an extra third. So it stretches
Wow.
further to your left as you look at it. We
Yeah.
added a slot area there, and then the new restaurant is set back Bacon Nation. It's actually about 30 feet back of where the old D Grill was.
Did you see any of the video that they put together on I Everywhere from Bacon Nation?
No.
Did you see how much food we had on our
Oh,
table?
no. I didn't see
Oh
it.
my God. It was great. Anyways, let's get into these games. So the early game on Saturday, Kansas City, Jacksonville. You mentioned it a moment ago. It opened at 9. That's where you guys sit right now at 9. Total is 53. It's ticked up a little bit. I think Jacksonville arrives with they're playing with house money. I think all the pressure is on Kansas City. Jacksonville, they survived the last weekend. Chiefs beat them early in the year. It was Cisco was a couple of dirty plays, knocked Juju Smith-Schuster out of the game. Tried to do the same with one of their other receivers. How do you see this game, Mike? Is Jacksonville hanging around in this one when they get to the fourth quarter?
Here's the unfortunate thing. And, in the AFC playoffs, Doug Peterson was probably worth a few points against 5 of the other coaches, but not here on Saturday. I don't think against Andy Reid you can give him any advantage. If you want to bet Jacksonville and you say, oh, that's attractive. They won their division. They just had a big comeback. They're playing on house money. They're on a full week's rest. Can you trust Trevor Lawrence for 4 quarters? I don't know if you can. He's been inconsistent. I mean, 4 turnovers in the first half, played decently in the second half. But Peter, Paul, and Mary, everybody in the world is going to have this 2-team teaser on Saturday.
Yeah.
Everybody will have the Chiefs to the Eagles, and I'll be part of that everybody because it's hard for me to see either team losing.
Well, that's interesting because I really like the Giants in this football game. And I get it's a bunch of no-name guys. And Daniel Jones did what he did, and he did it against the Vikings, and the Eagles are a different animal. This front four, this front line for Dallas defensively, I think they're good, Mike. I think that they can. And here's the other thing: is Jalen Hurts 100% in your mind before you?
The only shot you've got, Kenny, is if he's not and he can't run because his running is what makes the difference in this game. If Jalen Hurts is going to be like C.J. Stroud and not want to run,
back there, yeah.
That's my comparison because C.J. Stroud does not want to run. You can watch Ohio State play; does not want to run.
Right.
If he's like that and he's still favoring, and then the Giants are live. I don't know that their defense is good enough, but without that mobility aspect, you can beat teams. Like, I mean, Cousins is stationary and you can sit there and defend. Philadelphia is awfully good. And I know it got skewed because Hurts went out and they locked up everything 4 weeks ahead of time. But think about how good this team was at the start of the year. I think it's a tall task. Look, the Giants don't make mistakes. You saw, the difference in the first game with the Vikings was they lost a turnover battle and played from behind. Play from in front in this game. You don't lose a turnover battle. They can beat most teams. So it's just, will Philadelphia execute? I still think you have to side with Philadelphia. But this game of any of the 4, to me, is an in-game spot where you look at Hurts and how effective is Hurts and make it. I'll be on that teaser pre-flop, but I won't be afraid to pivot if we see Hurts really doesn't want to run and they don't have his legs as any part of their game plan.
Well, and the front that I mentioned, Thibodeau and Williams and Dexter Lawrence, 97's playing out of his mind right now. Look, Mike, you and I both watch a ton of football, right? When I'm watching that Vikings game, other than Darius Slayton, I'm thinking, who the hell are these guys that Daniel Jones is throwing to?
Yeah.
I mean, you just talk about a no-name, nondescript group of wide receivers.
Daniel Jones adds a component of his legs as well. Now, here's a guy that knows when he has the ability to go out and get 6 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards. I think he's a very crafty runner. He doesn't give as much credit as you get, but you're right. I mean, the best player on their team is probably Saquon Barkley.
Sure.
Right. And he has a home run threat, so he keeps the defense honest. You can't pin your ears back and rush Daniel Jones because, Barkley can hit you for 80 yards. I mean, he's got that breakaway threat. So I think the two games were sort of aberrations they played because they beat him by 30 and they beat him by this. And that. I mean, I really would throw those games out and just look at the game on paper. So I don't hate your play, but I need to see that Hurts wasn't 100% to get on your side.
But back to the early game real quick. Is there a chance that game gets to 10? That's asking a lot, right? For it to get up to 10.
No.
Yeah.
I really don't think so at all.
I don't think so either. What about the Giants in Philly, the nightcap? Will it tick down to 7? I mean, it's 7.5 right now. Should you go ahead and grab it, or if you're holding out for more, it's liable to go the other way?
No, I would take the 7.5. We saw last week. We did everything we could to stay on 3. We had to go down to 2.5 because of the Giants' money.
Mm-hmm. If you could only go to one game, which game would you go to? The Sunday night, the finale, San Fran, Dallas?
Yeah, I think that's the marquee game. I just say that because, people would, said Cincinnati, Buffalo 2-3 in the AFC. But both teams are not playing that well. I think the Cincinnati offensive line's banged up. They get very lucky to survive Baltimore.
They did.
Very, very lucky. Buffalo's up 17-0 on Miami, and it looks like they're going to win the game by 40. And they can't even win the first half. There's something wrong. Kenny, this team has not played well for 2 months.
And I know it. I agree with you.
Josh Allen, I don't know McDermott. McDermott got out-coached again by McDaniel in Buffalo in that game. And, Skylar Thompson's got the ball at his own 45.
Yeah.
With 3 minutes to go, a chance to win the game. So this is a tough game for me. This game ticks up to 6 in a lot of spots. I'm not laying 6 with Buffalo. I'd be more inclined. I actually lean a little bit under 49 in that early game. But I think all of the luster is in San Francisco on Sunday evening.
Well, let's finish up Cincinnati, Buffalo. Which of the two young quarterbacks you like best?
Oh, I like Burrow a lot better.
Yeah. You have more confident in him, more faith in him?
I have more faith in him. I think he makes better decisions. I think he's tougher than Allen. Mm-hmm. Allen is a better runner, obviously. But I don't know. We'll have to see it. Buffalo's had all this promise, and they haven't gotten there.
I'm with you.
The window's closing in terms of the staff and things like that. So I don't know. I wish Cincinnati was at full strength here because I think they'd give them a better game. But we'll see. If Harbaugh says Huntley was supposed to go low on the 3rd and goal there, and he went high and got the ball knocked away. I mean, if Baltimore gets the lead there, they're going to be tough to beat.
Probably so. Love Cincinnati's receivers, tight end I like as well in Hurst. But you mentioned it. The key to the game is that offensive line. They were average to begin with, and you take 3 starters out and put in 3 backups. Yep. What's that going to do to that team? I'm with you on that one. Now I have a Houston Astros Buffalo Bills ticket that I'm holding. I don't have any faith in that at all. I do not like these Bills.
Well, you got to get through here, and then the good thing for you is you get a neutral field if it's Buffalo, Kansas City, and so the neutral field. If you want to hedge at that point, you won't have Kansas City will be a 2-point less favorite probably in Atlanta than they would be at home, maybe 2.5 because Arrowhead's a pretty tough place to play.
No doubt.
So that helps to your monetizing the ticket.
Yep. Let's go to the nightcap. So did you see what I think most of the country saw? For the first time ever, Brock Purdy flinch a little bit in that first half. He looked like a rookie for the first time.
I thought he had the yips. Now, not as bad as Brett Maher did on Monday night, but I thought he had the lift. I thought he was outside of his body, Kenny. And he settled down mid-second quarter, maybe. He settled down a little bit, but he was outside of himself in that playoff atmosphere, I thought. Second half, they were terrific. I mean, they just – every time they got the ball, they executed long drives and that. But for a while, it was really touch and go with him. I mean, the passes were errant. It didn't look like he was reading the coverage. Throws were high, and I was a little concerned. But then we got back into the mid. It's your first playoff start,
right? I
mean, you're a rookie, and your team's won 10 in a row, and all this. And I think he got it out of his system.
Yeah, I do too. I think it. I think we'll see a different Brock Purdy this week. I'm with you. All right, so Cindy. Sorry about that. I've got a visitor down here that somehow made it through the barrier. So let's take a look at the Cowboys, Mike Palm. Dak Prescott Monday night. It was his best game in a long, long time.
His best game ever.
Was it?
I think so.
Yeah.
He started out 0 of 3, Kenny. He finished 25 of 30.
I know. Remember that both of the first two drives, I think, oh my God, what a stinker this is going to be.
I said this game's going to be 12-9 after the first after they punt back and forth. Nobody moved the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what they were doing in the secondary. I mean, they gave him a lot of easy throws, and Dallas got control of the game. I think this number's way off. I can't believe San Francisco's 3.5. I'd have made this number 5.5 or 6.
Really?
This is my one play of the weekend that I'm making a straight bet. I'm on the 49ers. You don't tell me that your kicker not being able to kick, and he's a Steve Sachs, Chuck Knobloch in his head. Obviously, he hasn't gotten it out, or they wouldn't have signed Scano or whatever.
Right.
That's
After saying they wouldn't.
That's not worth something in the line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he coming off of there. I think everything stacks against them. It's not Tom Brady. Purdy can use his feet more. Brady looked really, really old on Monday night to me. When the pressure came, he'd fall back and the ball would go in the ground. And I think I know people are passionate. The Cowboys, people are passionate. I like San Francisco a lot in this spot. And I laid 3.5.
What will the breakdown in the book be as far as jerseys for that game? Because I know there's a lot of Niner fans.
Oh, there was tons of them here for the Raider game. I think it'll be a good breakdown. I still think it'll probably be 60-40 Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a big national game. And how much of the state of Iowa adopted the 49ers and Purdy here?
Oh my! Well, especially Story County, right?
Right.
Yeah, their jerseys are flying off the shelf. It's a phenomenal story. It really is. I hope it goes all the way to the Super Bowl. I really do. It'd be great. Look, the Christian McCaffrey, the difference that he has made in that football team. They had a ton of guys to begin with, right? With Debo and Ayuk and the receivers core that they have. Kittle. I like the fullback even Ustek when they get him involved. But Christian McCaffrey, I think, has elevated this team to maybe the best team still alive.
Kenny, you don't have to tell us about Christian McCaffrey. We watched what he did to Iowa in the Rose Bowl. I mean, he single-handedly destroyed Iowa that day.
He did. We headed for the exit. The Rose Bowl was the top of my bucket list for my entire life, right?
Is that the only one you ever went to?
That's the only one I ever went to, yes. And we got there, and I was just giddy to see it. I'll never forget when I saw Churchill Downs for the first time, and I saw the spires. I got a lump in my throat as a horse racing guy. When I got to the Rose Bowl, a game that my family has watched for whatever reason, we always watch the Rose Bowl. College football is not big in Canada, but on New Year's Day, I think it was because the ladies liked the parade and they kept the TV on. I wanted to get there, and then the game. We left at halftime. It was so bad. I watched the last half in a bar.
Kenny, we always went to a Rose Bowl party every year. So, I mean, Ohio State, USC, we'd go to support the Big Ten. That's what you did in Iowa. And then finally they made it in 86, right? Yeah. Mitch and Paul did a thing this week, the 5 losses that haunt you the most as a fan in your lifetime. And so they did theirs on Tuesday. So then when I came on, I did mine on Wednesday with them. And my number 2 was the 86 Rose Bowl, the Ronnie Harmon game.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I remember they made the record. The Hawkeyes loved the Roses and Hut and all this. And that team was really good. They lost in that rainstorm in Columbus, but the Houtland 4 field goal game against Michigan, they were a touchdown favorite against UCLA. UCLA turned the ball over right away. You got 1st and goal, and here started Ronnie Harmon, and then the game got out of hand. But that really crushed us. And then of course they never won. They went back. They lost to UCLA, lost to Washington. They could never get it done. And just interestingly, though, for the folks there listening in Iowa, 5 on my list was the 87 West Regional Final from the Kingdom. UNLV 84, Iowa 81. Remember they led that game by 16 early. Marble and Horton and Gamble and BJ and Tom Davis' first year. That was a really good. They beat Oklahoma. I remember staying up. It was like midnight in Iowa on Friday night. They beat Oklahoma 93-91 in the Sweet 16 game. That I thought they were going to the Final Four. 80 is too young. The Joe Barry Carroll, Purdue, Iowa, that Final Four, really, I was too young, but I really thought Iowa was going that year with that team.
Well, since we're going way back, last night on the Big Ten Network, they did a 30th anniversary of Chris Street's passing. Like I watched it. I had tears in my eyes a number of times. Like I didn't grow up here, right? But I've heard about Chris Street the entire time. When Prairie Meadows closed in 1991, I'd been in Iowa for 2 years. Well, there's no racing. They don't need a race collar. I moved to Denver. And during that period of time, Chris Street passed away. So I didn't experience what it was like for, 60% of the population that bleeds black and gold as young kids, what they experience. It really it gave me a feel at what it was like to be an Iowan back in 1993. It was incredibly well done. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. And the kid was, local kid, went to Indianola, and it's just so tragic. The Big Ten Network does a good job on these pieces.
Yeah.
There's one they did on Brock Behringer.
They mentioned Wade Lookingbill, who we had on today, said that very thing. Brock Behringer, he said, you have to see that one.
You have to. I cried watching the Brock Behringer one.
Did
it was
you?
incredibly well done. He probably would have been, if he didn't get killed in that plane crash, he probably would have been a head coach at Nebraska at some point. That kid.
So was that like 99, 2000? Circa what? Was that around the beginning of the century? And we were on the air, and we started in 96, and we were on the air at that time. I'm confident of that.
What year did you start?
I wanted to say 96.
I wanted to say 98. Let me look it up for you. But you're right in that time frame, Kenny. And they have the statue outside of the Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. The statue is it's this Osborne statue, but it's a statue of Osborne with his arm around Brock Behringer.
Wow.
That's the statue in front of. He died 1996, Kenny.
Interesting.
1996.
Wow. So I've been to Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. It's a really cool place. I don't recall seeing the statue, but great place to watch a football game. All right, so let's recap. So let's go back to Saturday. 9 is the number right now. You think the Chiefs finally prevail, get past that number?
Yeah, I think it'll probably stay at 9. And I'd be shocked if Jacksonville. I think things are breaking perfectly for Kansas City this year.
Oh, I do too.
They don't have to play the Chargers, who go down to the wire with them every time. You get Jacksonville. Buffalo's not playing. Neither of the other two teams on the other side of the bracket are playing well. I think everything's breaking for the Chiefs to get back to the Super. You know what I think, Kenny? These two teams, met a couple of years ago. I think it's Chief 49ers again. That's really what my opinion is on who's going to meet in the Super Bowl. And they played a terrific Super Bowl. 49ers led by 10 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, you can. I know that the championship exactas are up. Chiefs to beat the Niners at Circa Sports plus 8.25. What's the other way around? San Francisco to beat the Chiefs is plus 13.5 to 1. That's a pretty good number.
Yeah. And I think that if they found themselves in a similar circumstance, Kyle Shanahan might trust Brock Purdy more than he did Jimmy G. Remember, he really got conservative in that Super Bowl.
Well, he's his guy. I mean, Brock Purdy runs his offense to a T. All right, it's Sunday. Numbers 5.5 right now. Six
in a lot of places. 6 in a lot of places now, Kenny.
Is it? So will you guys eventually get there, do you think?
Maybe we'll see what the money does. I thought it would come off 6 when it went there this afternoon, but a few other places still at 6. It's hard for me to believe that you can get a full 6.
Yeah. All right. And then you've told us what you're going to do. You think the number should be bigger. It's up to 4 in a lot of places.
Yep.
Right now, you guys are at 4 as well.
Some places still hanging on 3.5. I think it closes 4.5.
Yeah. Good stuff. Mike Bray, done at Notre Dame. Going to be done at the end of the year. That's your alma mater. Any opinion on Mike Bray and his career? That's a long time, 20 plus years.
Really good coach. Really good coach. Didn't have a lot of, what would we say, top, lottery draft picks there. I think he's a really good coach. I don't know when you leave Notre Dame, do you go anywhere else?
No, you're done.
I don't think so. I think he's just done.
Yeah.
But he was a very good coach. Tough. You're in the ACC, although the ACC is way down.
Way down.
This is the worst I've ever seen it.
Me too. They got Virginia and who else?
It's just Virginia.
Yeah.
It's just Virginia. And you got teams at the bottom that can't win. Notre Dame's one of them. Can't win again. And Louisville might go 0-18. I mean, they're that bad.
What happened to them?
You can't make a number big enough. And, who else is at the top? Well, you get Pitt and Clemson. I mean, I think Virginia's the only Elite Eight Final Four threat out of the conference.
Do you have a pick yet? Anybody catching your eye? It's the middle of January now. Have you seen enough to make a future play on any team?
I don't know. I mean, Houston will be around. Houston's an Elite Eight team. I don't know. Kansas will probably be around. I think it's a wide open year. Wide open. And, if you told me there's 4 teams that aren't in the top 10 that'll make the Final Four, I wouldn't say that's unbelievable. But I don't know. I won't really get into it, Kenny, to be honest with you. I've bet a few games here and there when I thought a number was really out of line, but I haven't paid that much attention to it. How good's the Big Ten? Pretty darn good, isn't it?
I think the Big 12 is better. I mean, at the top, Purdue's good. Look, Michigan State's he's going to be there. I think Michigan State is figuring out. You know who I'm disappointed in? Ohio State with all that lottery pick talent. They're young.
That's the game I bet. I said, why was Minnesota catching 14 in Columbus? I couldn't believe the number. Right? It's just the number wasn't right.
Yeah.
Not that, who there's some of these games you take. Like I took St. John's and 14 on Sunday. I wish I'd have bet a little bit on the money line in some of these games because that happens. But is Iowa State now? That'll be again that I always say the Big 12 tournament's the best college basketball tournament every year, right?
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Do they have the chops to win that? I mean, they played Kansas right down to the wire.
Yeah. The answer is yes. I mean, I think you can make a case for 6 or 7. How about that?
I think Otzelberger's the coach of the year right now.
Him or Tang at K-State. Got to throw him into the mix.
Maybe.
Yeah. But Otzelberger's doing a terrific job. Yep. They were picked 8th. K-State was picked 10th.
Yeah.
And the conference is probably going to get 8 teams into the big dance. We're out of time. We'll save the NHL for next time. And real quick, anything catch your attention this week since last time we spoke? Any team with an arrow pointing up or down?
Kraken continue to play well.
Yeah.
I try to identify a team that's out of the playoffs right now that I think can get in the playoffs. I'm starting to watch Ottawa a little bit.
Are you? They're so young.
They're very young, but I think Talbot is decent in goal. He gives them. I like their power play a lot.
Yeah,
I've been watching Ottawa a little bit. The big game tonight, obviously, the Red Wings are here. We'll have a ton of people from Detroit.
Well, don't tell me Maple Leafs Jets because I'm recording it. If you got that over your head that you can see the score, because I don't want to know that.
No, I don't know it.
All right. Whether the Golden Knights, are they going the wrong way right now? Mark Stone being hurt doesn't help. Yeah.
I said that forget this. Pick somebody. I don't know who, but pick somebody else to win the Pacific. It isn't going to be the Knights. I'm telling you.
No, I don't think it is either.
Look silly here on Monday. I mean, they weren't even competitive again. And then Dallas blew a 3-0 lead in San Jose last night with Ottinger in goal. How do you explain that?
You can't.
Used to be a 2-goal lead was golden in the NHL, Kenny. Now a 3-goal lead isn't golden.
Yeah, I'd say the toughest lead in hockey is 2-0. I'm not so sure that won't be 3-0.
And meanwhile, the Bruins just don't make any false moves.
They're so good, man.
Down 1-0 at New York. They just blew by them last night. I took them plus 130 when they got down 1-0. Never even had to sweat it. They're really, really good.
Yeah. New Jersey can't lose on the road. Boston can't lose at home. It's going to be fun. Mike Palm, we're out of time. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on the radio. Thanks for tuning in here to The Hook. We're part of Iowa Everywhere, and we'll see you next week, and we'll talk about the AFC and the NFC championship games. Mike, thank you.
Thanks, Kenny.